Hello.
How's it going?
What is the topic session?
You have some background noise, or is that a question?
What is this session for? I mean, topic. Main topic for this session. I mean.
Can someone answer Gino's question? One person at a time.
Venus aphelion, it's a planetary section.
Did you understand? Did you understand what Pressy said?
Yeah, but like.
What did she say?
What? It's a planetary session.
Okay, but it's not just the planetary session, it's the Venus session. What is the Venus session?
Yeah, it's a Venus aphelion.
Venus at aphelion.
Okay, thanks, Gino. So can someone please just answer what the Venus session is?
The Venus session is for the executive meeting.
Thank you. All right. Executive team meeting. All right, so do we have a doc?
Yeah, just a minute, I'm free.
Okay, I'm working on getting the live broadcast going. And
do they have groups with the Venus session?
What?
We have a group. I'll send on the group. We have a Facebook.
Is this a session for the managers and executives?
Executives.
So I shouldn't be here?
If you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. It's always optional.
No, because like I'm not an executive.
You can choose to become an executive or to hold executives accountable. That's up to you.
Okay. I'm just clarifying because like I might not contribute anything in this session if it's executive things or
Correct.
something.
So which is why you should not be taking up our time. So if you want to leave, you can leave, but you don't need to be taking up our time. So
okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, it's up to you. So in the context of what I need a link to the Hangouts. That would be extremely helpful. And then I'm updating the website with the live feed. So that is good.
Okay. I'll send it on Hangouts, the link for Hangouts.
And if someone could send a message to Gino on Skype and just make sure he understands that he is invited to come to the Venus session if he wants to. It's just up to him if he wants to attend or not. Like he needs to just make sure that he understood that he is invited. So. Presty, were you giving me the link to the Hangouts or not?
Yeah,
Was that someone else?
I give you on the Hangouts.
And that was not the question. The question was that he was invited to the Venus sessions, not that he can join. Of course he can join. The issue is he is invited. So I still do not see the link to the Hangouts, and I also do not see the link to the notes.
Just a minute, I'm going to send it out. I'm gonna link the Hangout links on Skype rather than the Hangout.
Yay, we have notes. That is excellent.
I will this in organic green one field. No paper. Paper. I'm gonna be the time paper. I will be the for priority master. Hey, you're gonna be the facilitator for this session.
Yeah, I'm gonna I'm happy to facilitate.
Okay.
So, can you guys hear me? No, of course not. Can you guys hear me? I can't hear you. Okay, cool. Great. All right, so are we ready to start check-ins? Did we get all the positions filled? It looks like they're all filled, right? I think we're good. People can add more positions if they want. So let's get started with check-ins. And can someone make sure that there's no one on the Zoom?
Notes on the Hangouts or Skype.
Okay, I'll add you to the group. I did add you on the group. Okay, you can resend that in the notes then. I will browse up. Roll up.
Okay, I see.
All right, so who wants to check in first? Let's start with Bina. Okay, no Albina. Am I muted? All right, I'm muted. Who wants to check in first? All right, well, I'll go first if no one else wants to. Probably around a 3, and I've been working on obviously everything to prepare for the Venus session, the water group, some sponsorship. I've been working on the canopy and taxes and finances, and I have also been working on some of the recruitment and coordination in general. So lots of stuff going on. Check. Albina?
pressing.
Okay, press C.
Okay, I'm around 10 o'clock in the evening in my place. And I've been working on recruitment, taxes, session support, and also budget.
Albina?
Albina, can you hear us?
Oh, hello? Yes, I can.
Okay. Do you want to check in next?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I'm at 3.5. I've been working on the taxes, Google Calendar updating, onboarding, verification. Thank you.
Can I check in next?
Temitope?
Yes. It's 3:13 p.m. here, and I'm at 2.5. I'm practically still on my stage responsibility 8, and I've been scheduling and scheduling, keep scheduling until I have the sessions I really love to have. And at the same time, I'm looking forward to today's session. Check.
Who wants to go next?
Gino?
Yeah. Go ahead, Mamun.
Yeah, I'm at 4. I've been working on recruitment, and my stage 6, and I look forward to today's dinner session for something new.
It's 8:15.
I'm around 2. It's currently 10 o'clock in the evening, and I currently have colds right now. Colds, I think it's probably because of the weather. But I'm doing okay. It's tolerable, and as of work related, I haven't been doing any work since I was pretty much bedridden for the whole day. Check.
Cool. And just a reminder, you can always go if you need to go, or just check out whenever if you're not feeling well. But it's good to have you here in general. So I'm assuming for Gino it's also nighttime.
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock p.m. as well.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Alright. I didn't see Mamoon's. Did anyone get Mamoon's day?
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock.
8.
8 p.m. 8 p.m.
It's fine. So, for me, it's 5 p.m.
Alright, so we checked in, so now we're going to do our desired outcomes and priorities for the session. Does anyone have any goals or priorities for the session topic?
should be the priority if
I didn't get any of that. Let's go with Albina first. Albina?
yeah, recruitment, my desired outcome.
That's a topic. Recruitment would be a topic, not a desired outcome. So how long do you think we need for recruitment? Like 5 to 10 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know when the next recruitment commission is? Alright, so I guess that would be a no. So who's the recruitment manager?
Mama? Which number?
Mamoon?
Next round would be 80 degrees.
No, stop. No, I was asking who the manager was.
Mama.
Okay. Anyway, so moving on, it's in terms of other details we need to do. It would be good to cover the session support.
How about the working hours review?
What is that?
I have some, I just saw something about the working hours when I reviewed the monthly budget with the client works, and I saw someone cheating on his working hours.
Is this payroll?
It could be.
Yeah, maybe it's part of pyramid.
Maybe it's a part of payroll.
Okay.
My desired outcome was to check on the priorities that need executive positions.
Like what?
Okay, just want to know the priorities that need executive positions so that we know going to pick the positions and things.
Okay, well I put session support, Venus executive roles, 5 to 10 minutes. Is that good enough?
Oh yeah. Executive role. It's part of the master.
Cool. Any other desired outcomes or topics?
Like, can I also have a topic for what do you call this? Recruitment process or no?
We have recruitment on here already. 5 to 10
No,
minutes.
I mean like the stage 5 onboarding process, or can I?
Onboarding.
It's different.
Well,
For the
onboarding
levels and budgets.
would be separate.
Yeah,
What do
stage
you-
5 onboarding.
What do you have for onboarding?
The levels and badges. I was told that it was supposed to be discussed by Jay, according to the note in the document for the steps.
That's not correct. It would be brought up at a main session.
Main session.
That's to be prioritized at a main
So
session.
this cannot be a topic for this session.
Yes.
Sure, it can be, but it's not has nothing to do with me as an individual.
Okay. So.
But you finished all your other recruitment, all the other onboarding responsibilities?
Yes, currently in responsibility 9.
Albina, Pressy, was someone saying something?
Yes, he is on responsibility 9. Budget.
Okay.
We already verified him on responsibility. He is now on the levels and budgets.
Great. All right, any other
I mean,
topics?
what do you call this? I mean Tamisha as well, but Tamisha's not here.
Are there any other topics or desired outcomes?
Verify Gino for the levels and budgets.
Yeah, we got that one already.
That is to clarify what recruitment round are we.
That's a good idea.
What is the next
Oh yeah, the other goal would be a plasma policy review. That shouldn't take too long. And if we can just get the link, Albina, for all the policy review work that you did, that'd be helpful. Okay. All right. So any other topics or desired outcomes? All right. So I think we're ready. Any objections to the topics? All right. So I think we are good. If anyone could double check the Zoom group, I don't think anyone's there, but it's good just to double check. All right, so we're gonna start with the session support, Venus and executive session. So as you guys know, oh wait, is someone taking notes? In the notes part?
I will just check.
Great. All right, so as you guys all know, this is the executive team meeting. The executive team basically is, would be everything from the treasurers, the CEOs, the centaurs, and then we have 3 primary executive positions, which is the communications coordinator, the actions coordinator, and the documentations coordinator. So those are the 3 primary executive positions, but then there's also like normal positions, including, treasurer, secretary, etc., etc. So also one of the roles that we would be doing is, and part of the staffing, like when we talk about staffing, that also is applicable to all of our executive sessions, board sessions. So there's always staff present to support the sessions, but if you're staff, you would be appointed staff. So there's executive staff, just like there would be steering committee staff and board staff. So in the context of the work that would be getting done, right? There's 3 things work that need to get done that we are currently not doing very good at. One is to invite all executives from all sponsored and partnered organizations. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right, so that's one thing that we're not doing. We're still not inviting the people who are supposed to be invited to the planetary sessions. The second part is to review all decisions made since the last Venus session. So there's supposed to be a decisions doc, and we could link the decisions doc here and review and see what decision. If people could please mute, that would be really helpful. Maybe Albina. I think Albina, you have a lot of background noise. If you could please mute when you're not talking, it'd be really helpful. All right. So let's see. I was saying, did someone check the Zoom? Maybe not.
Hello?
Did someone check the Zoom?
Yes, I checked the Zoom and no one is there, only me.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So then the third one is all of our plasma and policy reviews, right? So plasma policy reviews. So that we made a little progress on, but that's pretty much it. And I guess, did we write down all the positions? Executive positions include treasurer, secretary, CEO, chair, what do we have? We had, president. And then there's also, the centaurs, and you have co-chairs, chairs, same thing, right? And then there's the communications coordinator, the actions coordinator and the documentations coordinator. So I think those are all the main executive positions. Also, executives oversee the hiring of managers. And where is the manager session? Hello? Where's the manager session?
Manager session is for the season 9.
Yes. Okay, so executives do have a responsibility to oversee and make sure the managing happens well, which of course we're not doing that great on. So management training, management coordination, all of that is all part of the executive responsibility. So again, the 3 primary things we need to be doing. One is inviting all the executives from the sponsored partner organizations. We should have a list of all the executives, and then we should simply be inviting them to this session. Does anyone have that as their responsibility? Does someone want to take that on as a responsibility?
Can you say that again?
So one of the most
I wasn't able to hear it.
One of the most important components of the work that needs to get done to have a successful executive team. Albina, could you please mute if you're not speaking? We got a lot of background noise. Yeah. So one of the most important things for the executive team to be functional is to actually invite all the executives, right? So we're not doing. So we simply need a list of the executives, and then we send out email invitation, and then that's it. So the question is, someone have that responsibility, or someone want to take that responsibility on for the next Venus session and all the other sessions as part of session support?
I can do that.
Can we cope it? All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
So some of that's VA work, but you know, it also can be done on Skype, and it's pretty easy stuff. All right, so then the next one is the decisions doc. So this is one of the primary locations where we actually do decisions review. We typically don't review decisions at the manager meetings. We typically review them at executive sessions. So do we even have a decisions doc, or does anyone have that responsibility to, I mean, it's not very difficult, but it's just a matter of, you know, every
Do you have
session.
a decision doc?
What is a plasma policy doc? That's what it's called, a plasma policy doc?
Yes.
Huh. All right, well, that might need to be changed. But, so anybody interested in reviewing the decisions since the last Venus session? So is that a no?
I can do this one.
Which one?
The review all decisions made since last Venus session.
Okay, so it's pretty easy. You just, I mean, going forward at every main session or anytime the decision is made, you simply copy the decision and paste it on the decisions doc. And then at the end of the 100 days, right? So the Venus session happens once every 110 days, right? After all that time, you simply go through all the decisions and copy and paste all the applicable decisions that need to be reviewed by the executive team, right? So for example, a decision like the budget from 3 months ago does not need to be reviewed because it's no longer the budget. Does that make sense?
Okay, so all I have to do for this one is like copy paste all the decisions from our previous Venus session and place it in a document, a decisions doc, I mean.
No, all the decisions made between Venus sessions.
Okay, so from Venus session
to the next
All the
Venus
way
session.
To the next Venus session, like this one.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
okay, understand.
All right, cool. So the plasma policy review, we do have a little work on. So let's take a quick look at that, and then we will be done with this segment. If there's any other questions. So this says list of FPN network policies, plasma policy doc. So whatever happened to the policy virtual drawer? Did that ever get completed? Do you remember that assignment or no? The policies virtual drawer. Say again.
We updated all the policies on the plasma policy doc.
I'm looking at the plasma policy doc. My question is, do you understand the assignment, which was to create a policy virtual drawer?
I can't hear you clearly. Can you say that again?
To create a policy virtual drawer?
An example of the draw we have for the projects,
Yes, except for policies.
but specifically for the policy.
Yes, like so it'd be a virtual drawer that would link to all the policy docs for every project. Every single project is required to have a policy doc that would coordinate all of the policies for each project. Does that make sense or not?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Cool. All right. So overall, this is great work. Like, it's very, very impressive. You have all the policies here. It's a little bit overwhelming in terms of the details. I don't know if we need this many details. Like, it implies that there's like 100 different documents of policies when really there should only be one policy doc for each project. So you would go to the project, for example, the budget, and you have all of the budget policies in one place. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this is implying that there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 policy documents or something. I don't know. It doesn't really make any sense to me. I'm not sure what that is. Okay, but anyways, this is definitely very, very good. It's a very good start. So the first goal is to have all of the policies organized with the policy virtual drawer. So are there any questions on that? All right, so organize all policies into policy virtual drawer. The second one is to create decision-making voting forms for every set of policies. So this includes overall decision making, like the Unity methodology proposal. So the Unity methodology proposal is the proposal that oversees all policies. Does that make sense?
Would you like to repeat, please?
So when for the Unity methodology proposal, or what do you want me to repeat?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't understand that.
So the Unity methodology proposal is the proposal that oversees all of our policies. So for first thing would be that the Plasma policy doc needs to be linked to the Unity methodology. So can you do that, Albina?
Yes.
Cool. So the Unity methodology proposal would be the location where all policies are approved. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, but then within the actual policies, which is separate from the methodology. So the methodology is one thing, but then we have the actual everyday policies that we actually function with, right? Those policies, each one of those policies would have or each project per se would have a voting form in terms of voting on and approving each and every policy. Do you guys understand?
Yes.
So the way that it works is that we are publicly accountable. We are a publicly accountable organization. We're a publicly accountable group at every level, including our policies. So every single one of our policies is also publicly accountable. All right. So that means that anybody in the public can not only review, but they can also vote on all of our policies. So this would be done in two places. One would be the executive team, and the other would be the Bouncil, which is the Earth session. Right. So policies and are reviewed at the executive level and at the board and Bouncil level, the council level, right? So those are where all policies are reviewed. Okay, so the first round of review is basically what we're doing now. So we would be going over the decisions docs, and then we would be condensing all the policies into the most important policies, making sure they're clear, understandable, right? Then that would be presented to the Bouncil and the board for basically ratification and final review and ratification. Okay, so all of the managers, all of the workers are building all the policies over the course of the entire year and between Venus sessions. All right, and so all the policies are evolving and changing and being edited and updated. Then at the executive session, you're reviewing all of those decisions of all the policy decisions, and then we're updating the policy documents, and then those are presented to the Bouncil and the board meetings at the Earth session. Okay, does that make sense? Cool. So that's the process for overseeing all the policies. Does everyone understand why we would do this?
For accountability's sake.
Yeah. Accountability to make sure that the policies are being serving the community, that the policies are serving the public, that the policies are serving our own needs. If a policy is not helping, then it needs to be changed or removed. And then also just to remind everybody, policies can be broken. And when we fill out the policy tracking form, it's always better to know you're breaking the policy when you actually do that. So are there any other questions about the Venus executive roles, like what we're supposed to be doing in relationship to...
You said where should I link the Unity methodology proposal on the plasma policy doc?
No, you want to link the Plasma policy doc to the Unity methodology proposal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so other way around. All right, cool. Okay. Any other questions?
For the review all decisions made since last Venus session, will I start doing that from like last Venus session, like the last Venus session you had before this session?
Well, the first and most important thing is simply going forward to get ready for the next Venus session. So that's the only thing that matters in terms of, like, if we can't do that, nothing else matters. Right? Does that make sense? Okay, so at the next Venus session, we should have a simple document with all the proposals over the last 110 days and all the decisions that were made in the last 110 days, and just removing decisions that obviously are not applicable. For example, certifying voting forms is a very important decision that needs to be on the decisions doc, but it doesn't need to be reviewed by the executive team. Okay,
so I also need to do responsibility organizing for this responsibility, right?
Yes.
Before doing... Okay.
Definitely. And it's possible people have already done some responsibility organizing on that, but it needs to be updated, yes, or you can just do it again. Yeah, because the decisions doc has been, and not only is the decision doc a responsibility, it's actually also part of a position within the meetings, because it takes place during the meetings and during the sessions, right? All of our decisions and updating the decisions doc. Any other questions?
Okay. Yeah, for invitations, Jay, for inviting the executives, the emails, the format, is there a format that is already in place for doing that?
Yes and no, but we would just have like an email Google group or a mailman list, and then we would just make sure that everyone's added and it's updated regularly. So whenever we get a new executive or a new sponsor, a new partner, that we automatically update the executive list and also remove people. Sometimes we end partnerships or end relationships or end sponsorships, and then you would no longer have those executives invited anymore. So we just want to keep our list up to date in terms of who are all of the executives for all of our sponsored programs, and then who are managers, and then who are board members. So it's just like, it's just the key is just to keep track of it. It's in some ways it's sort of part of our sponsorship program, but it's more than that. It's like the sponsorship program doesn't really care who's an executive and who's not. It's just like the finances and taxes and administration of the program. This is really more of inviting everybody into the work that we do. Okay. So it's really separate from the sponsorship program, but again, it's also beyond the sponsorship program. The sponsorship program mainly focuses on who we sponsor, whereas this focuses on any and all components of the network, including partnerships, sponsorships, collaborations, anything that we do. Yeah. Cool. All right. So I think that's pretty much it for that. Any other last questions before we move on?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. The question is, there should be making some voting form for every set of policies. So my question is there we need to make existed decision made, or something we will create some decision and then we will make the voting form for the policies?
Cool. So this is a very specific process, and it all just ties together, like the entire system, right? We have a decision making and documentation system, which is part of our evaluation and review. So every single decision is always evaluated and reviewed over time. Our model of decision making is very similar to what's called sociocracy. If anyone wants to learn about it, it's a modified version of sociocracy, right? So every single decision is never made and then forgotten. Every single decision is always brought into our system, reviewed and evaluated over time to make sure it's still applicable. Okay, so the way to think about it is that at every single session, main session or any session, anytime anyone makes a proposal, it is prioritized. Right, so anytime anyone makes a proposal under our policies, the proposal is honored. We review the proposal and we vote on the proposal. If there's not time to vote on the proposal goes in the voting form. Regardless of whether the proposal is voted on or not voted on or passed or approved during a session, it still goes into the voting form, right? So the normal voting forms for every single session occur if there's a proposal and or a decision made, and then everybody who isn't present at that session also votes on that particular proposal in the voting form, right? After that, the next session, you review the voting form and you certify the results, right? Once a result is certified and you have the final decisions, you update the decisions doc. The decisions doc lists all of the decisions that are made. You do not list proposals on the decisions doc. You only list final decisions, okay? From there, those final decisions are reviewed at the executive teams every 110 days at the Venus sessions. And then you are reviewing and evaluating all of those most recent decisions to make sure that they all make sense. After that point, it looks like we do have the decisions doc linked here. Let's see if it has any updated decisions.
Excuse me, we need to do a stretch. We missed at the bottom of the hour.
Okay. Yeah, we can do a quick stretch. We're gonna have to take a break soon too, but let's take a quick stretch. But here, let me finish this so that we're done. So, for example, we had the hemp partnership proposal. It's costing us $2,500 a month, right? And the question is whether or not this is something we want to continue to do. What is the current status of the partnership proposal? Is it affecting our budget, et cetera, et cetera? The answer is yes, it is affecting our budget, and we should definitely review it, right? So this is the type of thing that you don't want to forget about. If you forget about it, it can affect your budget. It can affect everything. We also created a new structure change policy of having all our branches. That's actually worked out quite well, especially with the pandemic and my involvement being less. So there's only 2 decisions on here. These are 2 very important decisions that significantly change and evolve our model. So what we would do at the Venus sessions is we would just propose to approve both of these decisions. And then if we didn't approve one or both of those decisions, then it would be needing to have further review. All right. So that would all go into a voting form. Okay. So you can create a voting form of all the decisions to be reviewed. But more importantly, every single policy, no matter how old it is put on a voting form. And the reason you do this is because, if a policy was voted on and approved like 3 years ago, right, there's no other way to review it. And no one's going to be going back through every single voting form for the last 3 years to re-vote on it. So you just take the most important policies and you put them, like, for example, we could have all of our HR policies, right? So you have all of our HR policies on a voting form. Maybe it takes 2, and then people can vote on those if they choose to, or approve all the HR policies together as one. So does that make sense or not?
Yeah. And like for example, Jay, this our networks that branches, we should replace it on the current one, the updated one.
Can you ask that question again? I don't understand.
No. Just like for example, on the decision doc, the Jello team activity, the Jello activity team status network, this one should be replaced on the updated one, with the updated one. Because we are not, like for example, we have 9 branches now, not only 8. So we have to replace it on the updated one.
I just don't understand. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the decision doc.
Okay, the decisions doc. So that's a good place to start.
Yes.
So now I understand you're talking about the decision doc and
like for example, the branches of the network. Before we have 8 branches, so now we have 9 branches regarding the virtual world. So we have to replace the old one to the update with the updated one.
I mean, technically speaking, the proposal itself is the branches, right? So the policy is the structural proposal, which is that each branch of the network is represented in the steering team, okay? So that's the proposal, right? And that passed. So it doesn't matter how many branches we have; they're all represented in the steering team, right? And then in the relationship to the actual decision, there are 2 separate decisions. Both of those decisions should be included and approved. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
So for the decisions doc, I will be using this existing file?
We have lots of decisions docs, and really you could have between every Venus session, for example, this is the 80-degree Venus session, right? So at the top of the notes, it should say 80 degrees, which it does. See, 80-degree Venus session, right? So we would have a document that says the 80-degree Venus session, decisions doc. So if you wanted to do that, you could.
Okay.
Right now we have nothing, right? I mean, right now we have 2 proposals. How many proposals have been made over the last 110 days? Probably like 30, 40, 50 proposals, right? So remember, there's a difference between the decisions doc, which has all proposals, and the decisions that are applicable to the executive team, right? So the decisions applicable to the executive team are only the most important decisions that are most likely and focused on policy, long-term policy decisions. Does that make sense?
So the only proposals I would copy is the ones that are more, are more of the priorities one, or the more important ones compared to the other ones?
Exactly. And then you just ask
Okay.
if you have questions. So it's pretty simple. Basically, if it's not long term, it's not applicable to
Okay, I see.
like so for example, the quarterly budget would be applicable because the quarterly budget happens about once every 110 days. So it'd be good for the executives to review the quarterly budget, right? Whereas the Bouncil and the Earth session only happens twice a year, so it doesn't need to review every single quarterly budget, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So really the Bouncil meetings would only be approving and reviewing the annual budgets. Okay?
Okay.
Then the annual budgets would be presented to the membership at the Mars meeting, right? But the members are not required to vote on anything related to the budget or the policies, right? Right? But of course, everyone is invited because we're publicly accountable to anybody can vote on anything, right? So in that context, even though we're not required to have the membership vote, we want to have for everything for Plasmo for the accountability to be accessible and available to the membership if they're interested. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So that would include the annual budget and all the policies and all the information about what's going on. So again, overall, it's just a matter of doing the step-by-steps at every single session, and then there's really not that much work. We're always updating our policy virtual drawer, right? If we're always updating the decisions doc every session, and we simply update the number and the executives we have throughout the network, and then we simply invite them. They don't even have to come to the Venus session. We're just required to invite them. Then we will be meeting all of our obligations as the staffing for the executive team, and we will be following all policies, right? Because right now we're not following those policies and we're not meeting their responsibilities, and it is preventing the network from being functional. Okay?
Okay.
Cool. So we're getting really close though. I mean, we're much closer than before. And we're making progress, so it's exciting that we are getting better. So we do have all these policies. I would say the number of policies we have in relationship to actual policies that affect the running of the network and the organizations that we run are probably less than between 100 and 200 policies. I mean, it's not a lot of policies. You could probably review them in a few hours, right? So in the context of where most of those policies reside are within the FQN workers organization, right? So we'll talk more about that, but that would be a next step for all of us, is that as we get functional as a network, the most important component of us is our organization, which is the FQN workers organization, okay? So when you get paid from your payroll, you're getting paid from the budget of the organization that is the FQN workers organization. And it's a cooperatively run, collaborative, cooperatively owned, and run organization. Okay. So when we talk about policies that affect HR, etc., they're not only policies for the whole network, they're policies specifically for the workers organization and our payrolls. Okay. So eventually this could expand to other organizations and other sponsored programs and projects, that every single organization could have its own policies. Right now we're just kind of dealing with the overall policies for the whole network, but eventually we could actually help other organizations get organized and get their policies organized separate from us. All right, does that make sense? And then start looking at best practices, and that would be a whole nother level of the executive and oversight, but it's just in support. But right now we're not worried about that. Okay, so any other questions, or are we ready to move on?
5-minute break because it's top of the hour.
Okay, so let's do a 5-minute break. I feel like
we are near.
Yeah, we're taking a 5-minute break, but I feel like I don't know if there's that much interest in actually reviewing the policies. it's all here to be reviewed, like if anyone wants to look at it, but really it's just, I mean, my initial thing is that we just need the policy virtual drawer, and then we would just do one at a time. So if there was a specific area of policies that people wanted to review, I feel like that would be the most applicable. Otherwise, I feel like we can just kind of move on to the recruitment. So do people just want to move on to recruitment after this, or is there any specific policy area that people want to review? Okay, so
I would go for recruitment.
Yeah, okay, so let's just go to recruitment after this. I'm going to delete that. We pretty much already covered all the policy review, and I want to make sure it's clear that 99% of all policy review is taking place asynchronously. So the reason we put all of the policies together is not to spend 100 hours going over every single decision and every single policy within a meeting. That's not the point of it. The point is that they're accessible and accountable to the public and anybody involved in the organization, so that you can click on every single policy and learn about it, understand it, right? Or ask questions about it, right? So all of those policies are available to be reviewed. It doesn't necessarily mean we need to actually review them. And then also they can all be voted on with the voting forms. Okay. All right. So 5-minute break. We're going to go and talk about recruitment when we get back. Check.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, 5 minutes break.
It's 9 o'clock.
I'm trying to test my sound. It's still not working though. Does that work? Hello?
Sorry, but I can hear a bit.
Why doesn't it work? So are we ready again, or?
I'm here.
Has anyone checked the recording on the website to make sure it's working? Does anyone want to check the website to see if it's working?
What website?
The Venus session website, of course.
Yeah.
I don't have the link for that.
We have the Vina website. We're going to check on.
I'm giving you the link here.
Yeah, that would be part of the role of the video indexing, I believe. So whoever's taking on the video indexing role would do that. Let's see who's doing that. Video indexing me? No, I'm definitely not doing video indexing. Does anyone want to do video indexing? Can someone do video indexing, please?
Yes, I do.
Alvina? Okay.
Yes.
It's working.
It is working? Great.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, we're on recruitment. Who's doing recruitment?
Oh, there's also different websites. I didn't know that.
Say again, Gino?
I didn't know that there was several more websites. I thought there was only one.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, like I thought like there is only like an Earth Summit website as well as the water website. I thought those were the only websites.
So we have like 100 websites or more. Right now the websites are all down because we have not scheduled to do the website work that has been requested. Anyways, hopefully we'll get that done as soon as possible and get all our websites up. We are going to have a website for every planetary session. There's also going to be a lunar sessions website and a galactic sessions website, as well as other types of overall sessions, everything. So we're gonna have every single, like the Venus session is separate from the Earth session, is separate from the Mars session. Each session, a planetary session, is its own interdependent organization, technically with its own budget and its own policies and protocols and systems. So depending on who in the world is interested in getting involved in each of these different types of planetary sessions, for example, you could see that the Mars session may be very, very different and structured very differently over time than the Earth session or the Venus session. So like the actual people who come and the organizations that get involved could actually be different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and Jay, what specific options you want us to review in the site, in the Venus session site?
Okay, so this would be part of websites, right? So anytime a website is created or updated, typically you have a reviewer who would go onto that website and look at the information and make sure it is correct. That would include spelling errors, that the links are correct, that the information is generally correct, right? If there's obvious problems, like something spelled totally wrong, or that there's wrong information, or that the link literally doesn't work, then you would write down all the problems with the website, and then you would present that to the people who have access to edit the website, and then they would fix it, and then it would repeat until there's no more problems. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, but right now the Venus session website is no longer applicable for review because it's already the Venus session, right? So it's passed. So the next website we want to review would be the Mars session website, okay? Yes. All right, so are we talking about recruitment, or are there any other questions about the websites or the live stream or anything? All right, so recruitment.
Yeah, so for the recruitment, Jay, first thing we need to make the recruitment round doc and make the list of all the responsibility we need to do, and also the responsibility organizing for all the steps, all the responsibility. And we need to check previous recruitment round doc, and then we will go from there. I'm linking the recruitment round doc here.
All right, so the part that's missing there is just simply which recruitment round we are on.
Okay, for the recruitment round, I already did for the we are on the recruitment. We are on the 80-degree E recruitment quarter.
Okay, so what are the different quarters?
The previous quarter is recruitment quarter is.
No, my question was not what the previous recruitment quarter. My question was what is the previous quarters? The actual quarters.
The previous quarters are 102-degree E and 38-degree E.
No, just 38.
38 and 102.
So which one came first? 102, then 38, then 80 degree?
Yeah, then 38. Yeah, last one is 38.
Okay, so we completed the 102, the 38 degree, and now we're on the 80 degree east.
Yes, we are on the third quarter recruitment.
All right.
So for the recruitment round, I already did 80-degree east, the current plan, and I also did the intake form for the details and for the normal. I'm gonna link it on the notes.
And one thing for Day, I have created and updated the election form because of when the new recruit will come, we will just add them and just go from there. That's why I just created, and it needs to be updated when the recruitment round will over. So that's why I just created it and link it to the election, so it will be easy to go from there.
Yeah, that sounds fine. You know, we just want to focus on pops. So anyone who creates a pop, we add them to the elections form. Anyone who doesn't, we can go ahead and not worry about them, okay? Is anyone taking notes? We still are not doing so good on the notes, but hopefully we'll get better on that. So hopefully you can add what I just said to the responsibility organizing so that is clear. All right.
Okay,
so anything else for recruitment?
Yes, one last question from my side. You will be responsible for posting on his Outsourcely or Upwork, whatever, but and Temitope wanted to do it in the social media or the LinkedIn with our own account or something. So can we do that?
I mean, we're still required to do the Outsourcely, and then there's the Upwork. So those are the two required ones. If we want to do social media, we can. It's not like we can't do it, but we don't want to do that instead of also the required one. So let's just be sure to do both.
So priority is the Upwork and the Outsourcely.
Well, it's technically just Outsourcely under our current policies. But then eventually we would want to be doing both, and then we can add additional. So social media, the focus should be inviting people to the Mars session and getting people involved and inviting volunteers. We don't do any job paid recruitment on social media.
Okay, so Jay, I wanted to schedule with you because there was a message on Skype where you were saying that if I wanted to step up and really organize on social media posting, that you would be glad to lend your helping hand on how to get going on it to make it more effective. So I've been scheduling, but I guess you have been a bit busy. I don't know. Maybe when you're less busy, we could schedule something on it so that the social media can be a very good tool for us to use in our sessions and sending messages.
Yeah. So again, we're talking about recruitment right now. I think social media can play some part in recruitment, but we're mainly talking about just job post recruitment. So in the context of social media, there's two components to that. One is just prioritize it in a session, or try to schedule a session. Overall, it's not like a super high priority because it's not essential to be functional at the most basic level, but obviously in the long term we just have to deal with it. So then in the context of the project and the overall context, we call it multimedia. So multimedia includes all the websites, the social media, and just like messaging and communication. So for example, every single session we have our live broadcast that we want to be coordinating through social media, and all of our multimedia systems, and then also we have all of our messaging related to like our storytelling. So every single session gets a story, and then we would be telling that story throughout our communication system. So we need to be synchronizing our email systems, our notification systems with Skype, our storytelling relationship to that with the social media and other platforms. So hopefully that makes sense in terms of like our system shouldn't be based on, for example, like a single social media platform like Facebook, right, or Twitter or whatever. It's based on our messaging systems and making sure the information is being distributed throughout the network.
Okay.
And that's called multimedia. Okay.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So I'll keep scheduling till you have less work in your hands so that we'll get to it.
Yeah, I mean we'll get to it. I mean the fact that we haven't gotten to it already is simply that it's not the highest priority, right? It's like we can do all the social media that we want, but it's not going to get you or anyone else paid. What's going to get you and everyone paid is doing the canopy work and doing the finances and the taxes. Does that make sense? Right? So right now it's like fine to be planning ahead, and we want to do lots of social media work, but it's not essential to get people paid and put food and rent, all that kind of stuff. So we have to just prioritize our needs as individuals and as the organization, and not get too top heavy with the things that we'd love to do but we don't necessarily have the capacity to do. Yeah. But the easiest thing for social media is like the Mars session. We want to like blast the Mars session all over the place. The Mars session is basically ready to go, right? So making an invitation to the Mars session, and then scheduling with me in relationship to the different groups that we want to be broadcasting to and creating the actual posts. That's all that really needs to happen. So and then we can be inviting people to participate with the Mars session. And then that is recruitment, right? If we're outreaching the Mars session, we would be recruiting people to come to the Mars session. And that would be a role that the Recruitment Commission would be responsible for. So remember, the Recruitment Commission, the Outreach and Recruitment Commission is responsible for much more than jobs, right? And so in the long run, the job posting for the Outreach and Recruitment Commission might be like less than 5% of its overall responsibilities, right? That most of what we're going to be doing in the Recruitment Outreach Commission will be for events, activities, for donors, investments, and coordinating all of our communications with even the membership and the ownership, right? So the Recruitment and Outreach Commission does everything, not just job posts. Job posts is one actual small component of that. But overall, multimedia and websites is bigger and different than just the recruitment and the outreach. But they're obviously overlapped and related. And just since we're talking about executive roles, all of this, all recruitment, all multimedia, anything and everything related to messaging, all of it, 100% of it is all under the communications coordination. All right, so on the executive level, we talk about communications, and that communications on a whole covers almost like a dozen or more branches, or not branches, projects. And each one of those projects can have dozens, if not hundreds, of responsibilities. So communications as a branch of the network, right, of one of the three primary branches is huge. It's just there's so much that goes under communications, including all of our session support, all of our main sessions, anything and everything related to making decisions, everything, it's all based on communication. Without good functional communications, nothing else moves forward. Right? So, and that includes communications with ourselves, it includes communications with the public, it includes communications with the membership. Right? So communications is really a foundation to an entirely functional network. And that's why it's at the highest executive level position. All right? And then the other two positions are actions and then the documentation. So the way to think about it is communication doesn't happen unless it's documented. So you document all the communications. We have all of our videos, we've got all of our recordings, we've got all of our notes. And then from documenting all the decisions, then we actually have proven communications, right? So the communications are the foundation, but then we document the communications, otherwise they never really happened. And then the actions are, the way to describe the actions is like anytime we do anything, it's an action. So if all we do is we talk and communicate and then document our discussions and talking and dialogue, it's not enough. We actually have to take action. Every single action we take, it implies two things. One, there are proposals and decisions, but also the proposal and decisions themselves are not actions. They're just policies that guide our actions. So the actual actions are the work that is done in guidance of the policies, right? So the actions coordinator is coordinating that all of our actions are in unison and every single worker is taking action based on the policies. So anyways, we can discuss that more later, but those are the three branches, the three primary branches of the network is our actions, our communications, and our documentations, documentations, actions, communications.
Yeah, you are breaking up.
All right, anyways, we can move on. Should we go on to the payroll? Are there any other questions about recruitment?
Yeah, one last question.
Okay.
Yeah, I assume the position will be for worker, right? And are we going to use the last draft for the job posting, or are we going to use new one or creating new one?
You don't need to create new anything. You just update the previous draft post. Also, we have the post that Gino's been working on for the virtual world organizing team. So we technically have two posts. Also, we could be creating a post for each and every branch of the network. Each branch could have its own post if we wanted to do that. But right now we should have at least two posts that are ready to go.
Yeah, if we have it, that's fine.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else for recruitment?
No, nothing else from recruitment.
All right.
On my side.
So let's go on to the next topic, which is payroll.
Okay, let's have our 30 seconds stretch. We are on the bottom of an hour.
All right, 30-second stretch before we start payroll topic.
Okay, done. Okay, for the payroll, as I did the monthly budget with the Metope and Tamisha, I just noticed that someone has cheated on their working hours. So I decided to bring it out because it was unfair for every one of us who is working on the we are working for the network, and it is really unfair for you, Jay. So I will put here is the link for the photo screenshots. I will copy it also. I just noticed that I have no any session with you, Mamon, but in your
Need access.
yes. Oh, sorry. I was gonna put access. Oh. I'll just what can I? Sorry. I'll just put it on the top. I never had a session with you, but in your work report, you have a session with me during Andromeda, and I can't remember any session with you during Andromeda. For me, Andromeda is actually for Alpina and for Jake for the canopy. It was for them.
Where is the date, please? The date, please.
The date is June 2. And I did so a lot of session that has a document, but it doesn't happen because I also reviewed Metope and Alpina.
No. June 2. June 2.
Yes, June 2. I have a screenshot.
It was the last night. I mean
No, I don't have any session with.
Hold on. You did you, me, and Albina, and I said, Albina, this is so late at the morning. I need to go. I had a session with Jay, and I have a session with you and Albina.
For your information, I also reviewed for Albina's work report, and I can also prove you that I don't have any session with you.
No, and Albina, do you remember that day you didn't have any doc, and I didn't find any doc, and I told you this is so late, I need to go out, I need to go to sleep.
Why did you put it on your work report?
I had session with Jay, Tamisha, and me, Jay, and Tamisha, and after that you can check Skype that day. Tuesday, 2nd June. Yes.
All right, so
that day after just we finished with Jay, and after that you, me, and
no, I don't have any session with
you. Do you remember? I said just last word. Did you remember? I need to go to bed. It is very late at the morning.
All right, so let me jump in here, guys. We need to cover some policies and everything. So the first question that I have is, how many hours are we talking about, Pressy?
2 hours.
2 hours.
A lot of sessions.
Okay.
It's on 2.
Pressy, is it 2 hours or is it more than 2 hours?
It's 2 hours.
All right, it's 2 hours.
1.5.
Okay,
It's
1 point.
1.5 here. And if I can show
Okay,
you,
okay, well, wait.
It's
Let's just.
I can show you, Jay, that
Hold on.
I don't
No,
have
no,
any
I remember
section.
that day.
It's
I
fine.
remember
It's
that day.
fine. Everyone,
Hold
please
on,
stop.
I remember that day. You are wrong. I surely tell you that you're wrong because
But it doesn't.
that day I just had a session with Jay and Tamisha.
Let me talk first.
Wait, no. Actually,
Let me
no.
talk first.
Pressy and Mamoon, you both need to
Why?
stop.
Because you are wrong.
Both of you guys need to stop.
I remember that day. I remember that day. Alvina,
Mamoon,
remember
please
I
stop.
told you this is so late.
All right.
Stop then. Listen to Jay.
Okay. Can we calm down for a second? So, first of all, everything is going to be fine. There's nothing to worry about, Mamoon. There's nothing to worry about, Pressy. Okay. Secondly, 2 hours is nothing. We are spending, between our whole team, we are spending hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours every month, right? So having 2 hours be of question is a tiny little itty bitty drop in the bucket. So that's a good thing overall.
Jay,
What?
that's unfair
1.5
for someone
hours.
who works.
No, Jay, the first thing my question
can
is
you
I
please
had that
stop,
session
please?
with her.
Okay, but that is not, Mamoon, you need to stop.
No, I had a session and that day I just finished with you and Tamisha, and then Albina came up and Presi came up. We did the session together, and I said Albina, let's see. This is very late at the morning. I need to go to bed.
Okay, it's my turn, Mamoon.
No, actually, I have not gotten a chance to finish.
I remember that day because of I just had a session with Jay, and after that, me, Albina, and Presi.
All right, so guys, can you guys listen to me for a minute or like 5 minutes here? Because we need to cover some policy here. First of all, we are basically getting on the border of breaking policies. As a team, we are not respecting the facilitation. We're not listening to each other. We're not going in order. We're not there. That's a problem as far as just like functioning as a team and communicating as professional adults, right? So if there is an issue and if there is contention, we have a policy and a process for that, and it doesn't seem we're following that, okay? Right? So there's a huge difference between going through payroll processes and bringing up an issue and having contention. Do you guys understand the difference?
Yes.
All right. From my reaction of viewing this, we seem to be getting more into an issue and a contention rather than just addressing the payroll. But I want to address the payroll first because the policies are clear. The process is pretty simple, right? And it doesn't seem like we're following that process based on the policies, right? So there's at least 4 or 5 different issues or policy and considerations that are happening here. Whether they're issues or contention, we'll have to see. But in the context of just the simple policies of how to run the payroll, there's 2 steps. Step 1 is you look at all the hours. So you review everybody's hours. If there's an issue with those hours, it should be brought up with the individual involved. It seems like that step has been skipped. Is that true or not?
I just noticed it during the monthly session. It's all my fault, I know, because during the payroll I did not saw it.
Okay, but I'm just making sure it's clear.
I'm just addressing it because I want you to be.
Yeah, I want to go over this typing.
But please just wait. Just
I remember
Mamoon, please stop. Mamoon, you need to stop. You need to stop. Nobody is questioning whether or not you had these hours in work. That's not a question. It's perfectly fine.
I'm getting mad with this. Please.
But Mamoon, what you're missing is that is not going to be resolved at this time. This is not the correct time to resolve that, and nobody is questioning whether or not you worked those hours. Pressy has brought it up, right? This is not the time or the place for Pressy or anyone to say that those hours are not applicable. Do you understand?
Jay, I want to prove. I want to go
This is
over
not
this time.
the space or time to prove it. Like, you already proved it by saying that you work those hours. That's all that matters. Okay? It's 2 hours.
No, it's 1.5 hours.
Fine, 1.5 hours. But the point is that we don't have the time to go over improving. Like, it's going to cost us more money for you to spend 5 minutes trying to prove whatever than for us just to follow the policies. We have like 6 of us on the call right now. Do you guys understand what's going on?
Yes.
Yeah, I understand.
Right? That spending time on this is wasting money. Like, we're losing more money spending time on this than the value of those 2 hours.
Yes.
Okay? So what I'm trying to make sure is that the policies are clear, right? And that we follow the policies in the future, right? And just to make sure it's clear, there's nothing that Pressy can do right now to propose anything that would either remove or take away money from Mamoon in the relationship to the work hours. In fact, there's not even a proposal on the table to do that. If there wasn't, like, from my understanding, we are very preliminary on this. One, Pressy has just recently reviewed the hours and noticed a potential discrepancy, and she's bringing it up for the first time, and there's no proposal, right? So after reviewing it, and if there was more issues and everything came up, and it was like it had to become a proposal, and the proposal was to remove hours from somebody's work report, then it would be a proposal and everybody would vote on it. We're not even there yet, as far as I understand. All right, Pressy, do you have a proposal?
I mean,
Does anyone have a proposal?
for me, it's just 1.5 hours. It's not really a big deal for me. So,
Exactly, but that's not the question. The question is whether there's a proposal, and my understanding is that no, the answer is no. There's no proposal.
For me, the proposal is
Pressy, please. Pressy, do you currently have a proposal or not?
my proposal is
No, that's not my question. My question is not asking you to make a proposal. My question is whether you have a proposal.
I will again.
Like, if you don't already have a proposal, then there's no need to bring one up out of nothing, right? So what I'm trying to say is that let me just review the policy, and then we can follow the steps, and everything will be taken care of. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So again, the first step is to do the work report reviews.
Yes.
If there's a discrepancy, then it's brought up with the individual. All right? That step was skipped. You guys understand?
Yeah, I do.
Right? After you bring it up with the individual and review it, then you might bring it up with someone else on the team, right? Like Albina or me or someone else to review it in the context of having a discrepancy. And then and only after then do you create a proposal and bring it to a main session. All right? So at least 2 steps were skipped in terms of the policies in regarding to payroll. Payroll is done at work sessions, not main sessions. So all of this whole communication that's happening right now should take place within a work session. If it can't be resolved within a work session, then and only then is the proposal brought to the main session. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're skipping at least 2 steps there. Right? If there is an issue and the proposal is brought, then we will address it as a team and we can address it together. So that's one proposal in terms of just the process. The other policy, that was one policy in terms of just the process of how to deal with issues. Most issues will regarding payroll will be dealt with within work sessions and can be easily solved, and then it never even comes to the main session, right? Also, anybody, there's 2 other policies. One is that anyone who has an issue with their pay can bring that up, and we do what's called a reconciliation. That would be after the fact. If you were paid and then you after the fact feel like it wasn't correct, we do reconciliations. Again, all reconciliations are done within work sessions, not main sessions. So then the third policy is on what we pay for and why we pay it. Okay? And the policy is that we pay everyone stipends. Does everyone understand what a monthly stipend is? Can anyone describe what a monthly stipend is?
A monthly stipend is something that someone is just giving. It's not actually the payment for the work done, but it's a sort of motivation that we know you're working, but we cannot afford to pay you the value of your work, but we can give you something to show our appreciation or to encourage you or to get you going while you work for us. So I think that's what a stipend is.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's some of that makes sense. A little of that is we take it a little differently, but overall it makes sense. So just to repeat what I heard is that the value of your work might be more than your stipend, right? And some people it could be the other way around, but the value of your work is more than your stipend. That you're also getting a value package that includes ownership and equity and all the value in the network, right? And hopefully someone's taking notes on some. That's good. So in the context of that that value, your stipend is paid to you on a monthly basis. When you propose your budget, you propose the amount of money you get paid per month and generally the number of hours that you work per week. That is not an exact number, right? Your pay per month is an exact number. The number of hours that you work per week is never exact. We don't know how many hours you're going to work per week. In the context of having a monthly stipend, the general goal would be that your stipend just covers your costs, and then you work your hours, and that the number of hours you work is ideally greater than your budgeted hours in the context of a stipend, right? And then you get your overtime, you also get your back pay, etc., and all your benefits, etc., right? So that's the model we have, right? And the policy is if you work considerably less time than your budgeted hours, we don't pay full stipends for people who don't work, right? So in that context, we do a prorated stipend based on the actual work that was done. So we pay people for their work, right? So that part of it was a little different as opposed to paying people regardless of their work. So the stipends are still based on work. So ideally everybody is working the full number of hours or more of their stipend. If you work anywhere close to your full number of hours, like if it's off by a few hours, we can still pay you your full stipend. Your hours do not have to match exactly to your pay. Okay? And then the last part of that is that if you work significantly under your hours, then and only then do we do the proratedness based on your hours so that it is fair, because we want everyone to be paid fairly, right? 2 hours here or there is not going to affect someone's overall stipend, especially if they're working their overall budgeted hours, right? What is the purpose of the work report and tracking hours? Because we have a specific purpose, and it's not about your stipend pay. There's another reason why we do hourly work tracking.
But I have some issues because of someone accusing me for cheating. So
that couldn't be an issue, right? That you can bring up, and then we have a process for that. But the point that I'm trying to make is that it doesn't affect your pay, right? Do you understand how it doesn't affect your pay? And I didn't hear anyone. I didn't hear anybody.
I know everything. Even if I am wrong, you can reduce my 1.5 2x night time or whatever money you can reduce. That's fine. But my problem is someone accusing me for cheating.
But nobody accused you of cheating. Nobody accused you of cheating. They're bringing up a discrepancy in their payroll. They're doing their job, Mamoon. If they didn't do this, they would not be doing their job.
No, this is not the first time we have issues on your work report. So don't take it as personal. We are just bringing it as an issue because not even one.
That I barely remember that.
We can resolve it with Jay. With the
So like Mamoon, if we took your word based on this, that anytime
It's
anybody
9:45.
had any discrepancy of their work report, the only way to bring it up would be accusing them of cheating. That is just not our policy, and that's not reality, right? When somebody has a discrepancy in their work report for whatever reason, it should be brought up. That is their policy. It has nothing to do about you personally as an individual. Do you understand?
But if
Yeah, I understand.
he
Right.
wants to resolve it and he take it personally as an issue,
Yeah,
he can
so
resolve it with you.
there still can be an issue here that can be addressed based on our issues and even our contention policies if we need to do that, right? But the more important point is to make sure this doesn't happen in the future, so it doesn't affect you or other workers, and that we're following the policies, because right now policies are being broken, which is causing problems for the team, right? So in the context of the last part of this policy that I want to make sure it's clear is, why do we track hours in our work reports? What is the primary reason we track hours in our work reports?
Again.
Why do we track
the primary
hours?
reason is to track down the hours and the session, so people can understand when and where you spend the time.
I mean, that is an outcome of it, but it's not necessarily the primary reason. So if people don't track their hours, day-to-day hours, can they still get paid under our policies? Under our policies, if you do not track your hours day to day, can you still get paid?
No, you can't get paid, because how do you get paid when the number of hours you're paid based on the number of hours? So when the hours is not tracked, then there is no payment.
That is incorrect.
Wow.
So based on our policies, if you fail to track your hours for that day or week, you can go back and you can estimate the total percentage of time that you worked. Does everyone understand that? That's our policy. That has always been our policy. It's still our policy. So if you didn't track your hours for a week, it's not good. I mean, you're still breaking one policy, but we have another policy that says that you shouldn't go make up hours, right? Making up hours for your previous week of work is not policy, right? Instead, you estimate the total number of hours you work. You can look back at the week and be like, I worked about 20 hours, and this is more or less what I did, but I don't have a day-to-day every single hour tracked. Does that make sense? So you can still get paid, right? You just don't meet the qualifications of our actual policy, right? So you fill out policy tracking, but you would still get paid, right? So eventually we could fire people because they're not tracking their hours, because they're breaking the policy if we wanted to, right? We have that in our policy. Well, we could easily fire people if they're not following the policies, right? But they still get paid for the work that they did, as long as we all agree that that was a good estimate in the amount of work, all right? So if you don't track your hours every day, you still get paid, but we can fire you for it, okay? So but what's important is that everyone needs to understand why we track hours. What is the most important reason why we track hours?
To know how many hours we work for a week and how much we are going to be.
No.
If you are reaching the target of your budgeted hours.
Well, that is actually helpful. It is good to know more or less how many hours you're working, but you can do that without tracking every single hour of every single day. You can easily estimate your hours. So what is bigger than just your pay? Right? Remember, like there's
okay, work.
Well, the income coming in from working.
Okay.
Remember, we just talked about this, right? Like your stipend only covers a certain portion of your involvement with the network. What about the rest of it? What's the rest of it?
The output, the accomplishment.
I don't know. You guys are just missing it. But anyways, I'll just tell you. It's the value of your work. The actual value of your work is not money. Do you guys understand?
Okay.
So we are transforming the economic systems of our planet. Like that's the goal, we want new economic, decision-making, educational infrastructures, and our new economic models are about, instead of just tracking money and paying people money for their quote time, we track value. Right? Your value is worth more than the money that you are paid. Right? The money is only one representative component of your value of your work. So you get a value equity package, right? Which includes your equity and all of your different tokens and shares and your equity ownership in the cooperative organization that we're building together. But in addition to that, we also track the hours, because your hours are actually your value that you've contributed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? So everybody, when you track your hours, that is the foundation to your equity and your equity packages and your value that you're contributing. And it can be broken down specifically into what you're doing. Like, so if you compare, for example, Teme Tope's value in relationship to Pressie's value, Pressie spends a lot of time on budget and finances and Canopy, and Teme Tope is spending more time on recruitment and social media and and websites and that kind of stuff. So what you would see is, over time, different workers have different value based on the work that they're doing, and that is all tracked through your work report and when you attend sessions, etc., etc. So the foundation to your involvement with the network is your value, and that's why we track hours. Okay.
Hi, Tim. I just need to address one thing.
Yes.
In Albina's work report, there is Monday, 1st June 2020, 1.5 hour, Presi Albina Mamun. That would be my 2nd June. That would be my 2nd June. Please, Albina, check your work report.
If you are...
Yeah, I'm giving you the screenshot. Please, everyone, please check on that.
Yeah, just a minute.
Yeah, please.
All right. So what I heard from Amun is that for his 2nd of June may have been Albina and Pressie's 1st of June, and that the date should line up with the actual work that was done.
Not only that, Jay. Sorry to go
All right, we got a lot of background noise, Albina. You want to mute unless you're speaking?
I don't want to make it long, but if you want to resolve it, we can have a confliction issue with Jay and to resolve it.
Again, this is not a contention unless there is a personal aspect to it. If it's just policies and it's just dealing with this, then the work needs to get done. What, Pressy?
I'm not taking it personally. I just wanted to make myself clear that there is a session and Albina has the report, and I just made myself clear on that accusation. This is accusation.
Okay, but again, it's not an accusation as far as our team goes. It is just the policies for reviewing people's work reports. This is normal. We've done it before. So, Albina, do you have any question, or can you verify what Mamoon just said?
But we had a session which I recorded on 1st Monday, June 1st. Mamoon, Pressy, Albina, 1.5 hours. Budget, updating, responsibility, organizing. So the session was on 1st June. Which
Yeah.
I recorded on the...
Yeah, that is my 2nd June. Yeah, that is Andromeda. It's 3 a.m. Almost in the morning, 4 a.m. That is my 2nd June.
Yes, I know you. But you just came there for some seconds and left us. so it should not be there.
Say that again, Pressy.
She's just been there for just few seconds, and she said it's too late in my place, so I have to sleep.
No, I was there.
Yes.
I was there. Why are you saying that? I was there with you guys, and then last guys, I told Albina, I have to go to sleep. I did session with Jay and Tamisha. I need to sleep.
Okay, you guys have maybe not spent 1.5 hours, Mamun.
Yeah, 1.5. Yeah, that was 1.5 hours. No, this
No,
is not
only few minutes, Mamun.
No, you are wrong. Each and every side you are wrong, and you are not making any proof of your accusation.
Okay,
No.
so guys, so
Okay, let's go.
again, we're talking about an hour and a half. So it's like when you want to bring issues, you should have clear information. So at first, what I heard from Pressy was that Mamoon did not do this session, that the session didn't exist, that it didn't happen. Then Mamoon said, well, no, actually it did happen, and it was just a different date. And he showed that. And then Pressy came back, instead of like being like, oh, yeah, it was there. She said, oh, yeah, you did attend that session, and it did happen, but you were only there for 10 minutes. So basically, that brings up like the original, discrepancy not being valid devalidates the secondary discrepancy. It's saying like if the issue was that he was only there for 10 minutes and he was instead of an hour and a half, you should have brought that up first, not secondary.
Yes.
Right? So there's obviously multiple issues here going on, and in my perception, I would just go ahead and side on the side with Mamoon for many reasons. One, because it's only at an hour and a half. Two, it's like, he already showed that he was involved in the session to some degree, right? How much time it took up of his personal time, I don't know. Sometimes when you get on the session, that's only part of the time. Like if this session lasts, 2 hours, it might have taken an additional half an hour to prepare and follow up from the session. So that's 2.5 hours of time, even though the session itself only lasted 2 hours, right? So when you track your work report, you're tracking all of your time, whereas when we do the value tracking of the sessions, we're only tracking the time of the session, right? So everybody's time always is more than just the actual time that you're on a session, because of the fact that it takes time to work and prepare for sessions and follow up from sessions, right? So yeah, I think this can be taken offline. Like you guys can do another session, but overall the other policy that is very simple and straightforward, because we're all publicly accountable, is that every single session must be recorded. If the session was recorded and documented properly, we could go back to it and actually prove how many minutes each person spent on the session and what their contribution was to the work. Okay? So without that, the question of whether Mamoon worked 10 minutes or an hour or whatever is almost not possible to prove in relationship to the team. Either way, under our policies, Pressy and or Albina can propose to the team to change the number of hours from an hour and a half to a half an hour, or whatever the proposal is, and then the team will vote on it. So Pressy, Albina, Mamoon, you guys can check in. I would encourage you guys to check in about this at another time, unless we can figure it all out now. And then if someone wants to bring a proposal still, they can. If you want to make a proposal now, you can. I don't think it's a good time to do it, but you can. And then the team will vote on it. And we'll either vote on, let's keep it an hour and a half, or we'll vote to reduce it. But it's up to the team. It's not up to any individual to decide. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And that will be for anybody and everybody in all future situations with work hours. Typically, when we have problems with work hours, it's either a mistake that someone made and they fix it, or it's a new worker or a worker who doesn't understand how to track their hours, right? And then very rarely you have a worker who actually is trying to manipulate their hours, in which case we usually get rid of them, right? And that is usually very rare. But most of the time, it's just a new worker who doesn't understand how to track their hours, and then they're able to learn, and then there's no problems
It's 10
anymore
o'clock.
afterwards. And again, every once in a while, people just make mistakes. So for me, this sounds like it's more in the realm of a mistake. But overall, I do have concerns of people in general tracking more hours than they're working, but also I also have concerns of people under tracking their hours because they don't track all their communications, all that. I'm not doing good at tracking my hours, especially during the pandemic, and I'm way overwhelmed and I'm working way too much and I need help, and we're not scheduling enough support on the work that I need help with. And then in the context of overall, the biggest concern to me is when we spend too many hours working on the budget and the payroll. So if all of our time is spent on budget and payroll, and then we don't actually do any work, then that's an issue for me. But I feel like in the last month and a half, we have been expanding and doing a lot better. And so everybody on the team has been stepping up. Plus, with our new session support responsibilities for upcoming planetary sessions, there's a lot of work that people can take on that will be very important. Mamoon, Pressy, Albina, what else do you guys want to say? Check.
No, we can get it in later, then we solve.
Jay, from my side, I don't have to prove anything. I don't need to any proposal. If someone need a proposal and want to vote on it, that's fine. But I just proven it, and I'm clean. I told you guys, and I want you guys to know that I am pretty much honest on with my work. And yes, I have problems. Everybody has problems, but I literally honest with my hours. Even though sometimes I do works, I even do not um, put it on the list because I worked alone. So there's the honesty I have with my company. So I don't know if you are honest or you do not do anything, and someone is saying that you have done that. So that is very, what do you say? What do you call that in English? I don't know. This is so heartless. I mean, it's hearted actually. You are honest, and someone
Yeah,
accusing.
so but again, Mamoon, it's not supposed to be personal, and if Pressy found a discrepancy and she didn't bring it up, then that would be her not following her responsibilities and not doing the work for the team, right? So as the payroll worker and she's doing the hour work, whoever's doing that responsibility, if they find a discrepancy, they're supposed to bring it up, right? Ideally, you would just bring it up with the individual and check on it first before bringing it to the whole team, especially during something as big as the Venus session. The Venus session, like typically you would want to bring it up at like, you know, a quarter moon session or a full or some sort of lunar session, right? Because we have plenty of time before this needs to be finalized and addressed. So that would be the typical place to bring it up. Anyways, she can bring it up wherever she wants to. It's not against policy to bring it up, but ideally you would do it at an individual level. And then the reason you would bring it up to the whole team is if there's a specific proposal to vote on in relationship to an actual issue. So I would encourage you guys not to turn a mistake into an issue or a contention simply because Pressy brought up this at a time that maybe wasn't the best timing, right? But overall, she followed her responsibilities in terms of finding a discrepancy and bringing it up. So that is good. And I apologize to you, Mamoon, for feeling like you were getting attacked or feeling like you were getting accused because I don't think anyone had that intention. Lastly, I do want to say that there are just natural tensions within the team. Tensions are normal and they affect our ability to work together. By definition, especially with our cultural differences, and our language differences across the world, it's very difficult to work together. So that brings up tensions and that brings up issues. Issues are related to policies. Contention is related to the personal, emotional reactions to the issues and the contention that happens. So we need to find space for addressing and dealing all of those. One place are full of new moons where we can just talk openly with whoever's there. We also have open space session coming up in an hour where we can talk about whatever we want to. So I don't know if anyone's going to show up from anywhere else.
Just now,
What?
it's coming up now.
In 1 hour, right?
Not even an hour, just I think.
Well, 55 minutes. In 55 minutes, right? Say again, Albina.
Should be now.
The open session should be now.
So 7, 8, 9 should be now. All right. Well, someone could just check the Zoom meeting, and then we can take a break and do our open session. We didn't really do any outreach for the open session, so it wouldn't be surprising if nobody showed up. So Pressy or someone, could you check the Zoom meeting to see if anyone showed up and is there?
I'm on the Zoom. Okay, a moment.
Cool. All right. So with that said, if we want to take a break and have a broader discussion about team dynamics, I personally feel like there is preference within our team for who people want to schedule with and who people want to work with, not about the work, but about preferring to work with certain people over other people. That is actually overall perfectly fine. If you work better with a certain person, it's better for the entire team for you to be working with that person because you'll get more work done. The same is true in relationship to all of the policies regarding the virtual assistant work and making sure people get trained, and me wanting to work with people who are trained and communicate well with me so that I can maximize the amount of work that I'm doing, right? So there's nothing worrisome about doing that, but we do want to make sure that every worker is supported and that every worker has a buddy team and has people to work with, even in the context of issues. So I think are there any other questions about the payroll?
Yes, there is none on the Zoom room.
Okay. Is there any other questions about the payroll?
None on my
On
side.
my side.
Okay, so I believe we're ready to go on to the onboarding. So let's take a break. We're going to the onboarding. If anyone wants to discuss or bring up issues, contention, all that stuff, that would be good to go over. We could also go over the rest of our setup and wrap up as well if we wanted to, which would help our team get organized. But let's just double check real quick. The water planning group is at 12, so currently it's 9, so that is 9, 10. So we have 3 hours before the next session. Okay, which gives us plenty of time to discuss and address whatever people want. And then if we want to end early, that's fine, and then we'll be able to come back for anyone who wants to be involved in the water planning group. All right, so anything else or 5-minute break? I think we're ready for a 5-minute break.
Yeah, take a break.
Cool.
Will always be without you, that we're lost at sea. In the darkness you hide with me. I think we were right and free. Oh, so follow me anywhere you are. Just tell you don't be there.
You all ready?
Yeah, we're here.
All right, the next topic is onboarding levels and badges.
Yes.
Levels and badges, yes.
So we would want to go ahead and link the badges and levels spreadsheet.
You mean the doc for it, or?
No, it would be
Oh,
a
wait,
spreadsheet.
The spreadsheet. The one that I gave you with the session.
I'm gonna link it here, or place the link here. Spreadsheet, right? Is this the right spreadsheet? Yes, this is the right one. Do you also need the doc for it, or no? I think this is like the. Oh no, this is. I don't know what this is.
Badges distribution sheet. So
So
we're getting
I don't need the doc.
no, it's on the spreadsheet. So just so everyone knows, we're getting closer in relationship to the
It's
membership
10:15.
in terms of the membership for our team because of the Mars sessions coming up. So the Mars sessions coming up, we have the Mars email list, and then from there we just need the membership email list, and then that would be done. We will have completed that. So for everybody, let's get the membership finalized in the next couple weeks for the Mars session. Can we do that? Hello? If we could just if someone could take responsibility and help get the membership set up for the Mars session, this is very simple. And then everyone would just join the email list, and then that would take care of the badge, the membership badge.
Oh, on the membership session.
So what do we need to do today to ensure that everyone is on the
Someone just
email
needs to take responsibility and then check in with me to make sure we have the email groups set up, and then they need to be everyone needs to be invited and get on the email groups, and then also we need to link it to the Mars session website.
Yeah, I can take care of that.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So that's the membership one. I don't even see Gino on here. So it looks like we have to add Gino.
What is membership and joining update list badge?
Like everybody is supposed to get on and join the membership email Google group or email list, whether it's a mailman or Google group or whatever, so that they can get updates about the membership. So regardless of whether you are getting paid or you're in the budget, you're still a member. So all the members have direct voting power to hold the entire team and the entire network accountable. So you do not need to be paid or anything to be a member and to vote on membership proposals and appoint the board and oversee the accountability for the network. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when somebody when someone makes a budget proposal to work with us, they automatically become a member. So everyone automatically becomes a member, and then they can propose into the budget. If they don't get approved in the budget, they're still a member. Okay, so everybody's supposed to be joining the membership immediately, and then their budget is secondary. All right. And there is a membership for each, and at this time we're going to quadrants, right? I think we're doing the 4 quadrants instead of the 8 octants. So there'll be 4 memberships, and then there's the overall membership, one for each quadrant, and that also needs to be, that also is relative to the next recruitment round. We have to vote update everything for 4 quadrants instead of 8 octants. Does that make sense? We did pass that policy too. I don't know, that decision didn't seem to have gotten into our decisions doc, but I'm pretty sure that passed, right? Yeah.
I think.
Albina, Pressy, that passed, right?
Yes, it passed.
Yeah. All right. So, anyways, any other questions about the recruitment? I think we're ready to just go through this. So the buddy budget badge. Do you have a main buddy? Gino? Tamisha?
Tamisha.
Okay. And Gina, is that correct?
My main buddy team is Tamisha, yes.
Okay. Active interaction badge, definitely are actively interacting. Engagement and involvement badge, you're definitely engaged and involved. General worker skills badge, you're doing pretty much all of your general worker skills. You're still working on learning some of your responsibilities.
Yes.
But that is coming together. Organizations documentations, you're doing really good at that. That probably would be one of your next badges that you would be getting. Communications badge, definitely are doing good on communication, so that's also high up on your list. Recruitment, taking initiative, so these are other aspects that you're doing pretty good on. So you're one of the quicker moving people as far as getting through stage 5 and moving up through the levels, so it's pretty good. So if you have any questions on how to achieve any of these future badges, that's good. So, but the proposal would be to approve Gino for the level 0 and level 1 badges, which are the red and orange badges, minus the membership, which we need to do for all of us. And hopefully we can take care of that in the next week or two before the Mars session and not have to worry about that anymore.
Like, I have a question for like and for the what they call the skills and responsibilities badge. Are they the same with the organization and documents badge, which like I would do responsibility organizing for all of my responsibilities that I've listed before in my stage 5 responsibility 3?
No. So responsibility organizing is not a badge. Responsibility organizing is just having responsibilities that you're capable of doing. So your skills and responsibilities badge is around, taking on specific responsibilities.
Oh, okay.
And being able to do work for the group. So for you, this might be really easy. For some people, it's difficult to. I mean, level 2 is supposed to be really easy, right? So level 2 is like you're just working, right? Some people aren't capable of working and they never really reach or finish level 2. Does that make sense?
Okay.
In fact, we used to start all workers at level 3. And then we would only take people down to level 2 if they weren't working, right? So the expectation to get all your yellow badges would be very high. If you're communicating, if you're basically organized and doing, you need to be doing notes, right? To be some people, it takes some time to be able to figure out how to do template notes, right? And then, making sure that you have responsibilities, what responsibility links are, and that you're actually starting to do some responsibilities, that would get you through level 2.
Okay, I see.
All right, and then level 3 is basically that you are, actively recruiting and knowing how to do recruitment, which you're already working on. And then you're actually taking initiative, which means that instead of, having to be told what to do, you actually are able to do things on your own a little bit. And then the other one is the teamwork and the positive collaboration and the self-accomplishment badge, like doing something on your own and working as a team. So level 3, sometimes people can get stalled onto level 3 and they just kind of sit around there, but basically after today we're proposing that you would be on level 2. Does that make sense? So you'd be a level 2 worker and working your way up to level 3. And then some people spend a long time at level 3 to build their teamwork if they don't have experience in working in teams, and also the self-accomplishment, which means taking on self-driven responsibilities. That can be complicated for people, but it's certainly possible to get through it pretty quickly. Level 4 is where it really takes more time. This is like a leadership where you're really taking on specific projects and goals interdependently, and then you're actually doing output, and there's like more of a long-term commitment. The commitment's probably the easier part of level 4. So anyways, this gives you a little bit of an understanding about how in level 4, like getting through level 3 is all that's required to take on any and every position within the network. Does that make sense?
Level 3 is basically the whole recruitment process of like what I experienced before. Like,
no, it has nothing to do with any responsibilities or specific work. These levels are based on your engagement and involvement and just like your presence in relationship to the team. So once you get to level 4, it means that you understand a certain context of working as a team and working with the public and working with new people and training. And I mean, just like being level 4 is basically having all the skills to be a senior manager. Right, so level 4 is required to take on the senior manager role, which is also the role of our rotating president and CEO. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. But overall, once you get to level 4, you basically completed everything you need to know to take on any and every position. And then there's only like 1 or 2 or 3 positions that require level 4. Yeah. But again, level 4, the levels,
currently at level 2.
the levels have nothing to do with your training. So, for example, stage 5 and stage 6 for your training are irrespective of what level you're on, right? Yeah.
So I'm currently on level 2 right now.
No, you're currently on level 0 and level 1. But we have a proposal to change that. So the proposal is to approve Gino for badges level 0 and 1. No, that's confusing. To approve Gino for the following badges and approve Gino for level 2 worker. Gino to become to be a level 2 worker. So the proposal is to make you a level 2 worker and give you the following badges, and eventually you can actually add these to your PIP. So you would have the buddy budget badge. So buddy budget badge, and that's red. You've got the active interaction badge. Active interaction badge, and that one is orange. You've got the engagement involvement badge, and that's also orange. And last but not least, we have the general worker skills badge. General worker skills badge, and that is also orange. So you have 3 orange badges and 1 red one. All right. So that's the proposal. Proposal to approve Gino for the following badges: buddy budget badge, active interaction badge, engagement involvement badge, general worker skills badge, and approve Gino to be a level 2 worker. All right. Are there any questions about the proposal?
None on my side.
Are there any concerns?
No concerns.
And are there any objections? All right, we have consensus.
Actually, just
So now you're a level 2 worker. So before you weren't, and now you are.
okay.
So Jay, can we do final verification for him on stage 5? Because we are on responsibility 10 is final verification. Then he will be on boarding stage 6.
I mean, if you want to go through it, you could, but it's definitely a different agenda item.
Okay, yeah.
Gino, do you have any other questions on the badges in the levels?
Not on my side, but like one question though is like, how long does it usually take for you to like level up with the badges itself?
I mean, it just depends on the individual.
Involvement do you have to, or do you have to show, or does it like, does it just show in time itself?
No, it takes effort. So if people just are comfortable just doing what they're doing, they typically would not be going up the levels, right? So it does take effort to increase your levels. In terms of just like getting, and the same is true with your training. Like if you don't actually put effort into your stage 6 training, you're not going to be getting through it, right?
Okay.
So in the context of the levels, like level 2, your communications is pretty good already, so that one's the least of your worries. So just continuing to understand the organizational documentations, making sure you understand the template notes, that you know how to create the documentations and where they go. Eventually, it would be good for people to know how to do master notes, but that's level 4. So that's so, and then specific skills and responsibilities. So getting to level 3 should happen really quickly, and also part of stage 6 would include re-reviewing the badges. So if we haven't done that yet, we need to add badges to
It's
stage
10:30.
6 at the end of stage 6 as well. So you would do badges at the end of stage 5, and you do badges at the end of stage 6. But just because you do badges at the end of stage 5 and stage 6 does not mean that you can't bring them up earlier.
Okay,
Okay?
I see. So when do you usually like update the badges itself? Is it like per month or like yearly?
It's up to each individual worker to prioritize it, just like everything else. So if someone wants to
Okay, I
take
see.
badges seriously, all they have to do is just like bring it up and prioritize it sessions, and then people can discuss it. Based on our policies, executives can issue preliminary badges immediately, and then they just have to be reviewed and approved at a main session.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it also, you're always needed to be the one approving this, right?
No.
That's it.
I actually am not able to approve it. It has to be voted on by the team. Only the team can can do final issuance of badges. So any executive can issue, or any like level 4, level 5 executive, so basically if you're level 2, you can basically preliminary issue level 1 badges. So pretty much anyone at level 2 can issue preliminary level 1 badges. Anyone at level 3 can issue level 1 or level 2. Anyone at level 4 can issue level 1, 2, or 3 badges preliminary, but then the team has to approve it. That makes sense?
Okay, so you have to propose first before getting the approval, right?
Yes.
Okay, understand.
Yes. All right. Any other questions about the badges?
I don't have any.
All right.
Actually, I have a question.
Yeah.
So whenever we feel that we are ready to get verified on level 2 badges or level 3 badges like that, we need to bring it up on the main session.
Yep, you could even do that right now. So the whole idea of that context is that you as a worker are engaging and involved in your own work, right? So if you just wait around for someone else to do it for you, that's not being proactive as a worker and taking on your responsibilities. Does that make sense? So it's up to you as a worker to self-engage and to want to do the work and want to take on the badges and want to move up in the organization.
So my question is, am I already qualified for the level 2 yellow badges?
So you want to go over your level 2?
Yeah.
The answer is probably, but let's take a look. And then from there, you would be, need to complete your stage 6. So it says you're currently working on it. Specific skills and responsibilities, organization you definitely have organization documentations. That one's like for sure, because you do lots of our documentations, and you're doing communications well. And the specific skills and responsibilities badge, I would say you have lots of responsibilities. So I would say you have achieved everything that you need. So let's just go ahead and propose it and see what the team thinks. So proposal is to approve Cressy for the following badges. So this would be the skills responsibilities badge. And this is yellow. The organization documentations badge. And the communications badge. And what do we say? And approve Cressy for that to be a level 3 worker. All right, so that would be the proposal. I want to make sure it's clear that badges can be issued by executives right? But you cannot change people's level without a vote of the team, right? So as an executive, I could issue Pressy all 3 of these badges immediately, upon her basically proving that she can do the work for those badges, but I wouldn't be able to make her a level 3 worker. So if you think about it, to become level 3, there's 4 steps. You get the first badge, you get the second badge, you get the third badge, and then the 4th step is to be approved as a level 3 worker. So it's not enough to just get the badges, you also have to be approved by the team. Okay? So we can add that to the policies, but it's important to understand that you can issue badges, but just getting all 3 badges is not enough to become a level 3 worker. The actual process of becoming a level 3 worker is the proposal and getting approved by the team.
Okay, I understand. So I
So,
have to work the
well, no, we're going to do the proposal right now. So are there any questions about the proposal? The proposal is to approve Pressy for the skills responsibilities badge, the documentations badge, and the communications badge for the yellow. Those are all the yellow badges. And to approve Pressy to be a level 3 worker. Any questions? Any questions about the proposal? No questions. Any concerns?
No concerns on my part.
None. And any objections?
For me.
All right, so we have consensus. So you are now, Pressy, you're now a level 3 worker, which is exciting.
I have one question. It's not about this one, but like, does this like these 2 proposals what do you call this considered as a long-term decision since the last Venus session? Do I add that to that, or?
I mean, that's really a secondary question. The first question is, do you add them to the decisions doc? And the answer is yes. All decisions always go to the decisions doc.
Okay, I see.
Whether it's reviewed at the next Venus session would be another question.
Okay, just clarifying.
Yes. And I don't really know. I mean, maybe they should be reviewed. Maybe it shouldn't be reviewed. I just don't know. Maybe it's a secondary review. Maybe you prioritize the proposals. These are the most important. These are the second most important. And these ones are the least important, right? For review.
So I have another question. So should we put it on the voting form?
Yes, it would go. If we're going to do a voting form, you would do all of the proposals and from the session regardless of whether they pass. So it'll be like the Venus session voting form. All right, anything else regarding the badges? Are there any other questions in terms of the next steps for onboarding?
No questions on my side. Well, so that does that mean I'm in responsibility 10, which is get verified?
Yes.
So can I get verified in this session?
I think that's a separate agenda item where we can do a view up and see what people want to do for now, and then I put that in here. So final verification for Gino.
Okay.
All right. So set up or session setup wrap up session setup / All right. So a view up is basically where you finish your agenda for the session and you want to reconsider whether you want to stop the session or you want to, continue additional topics. So issues, attention. Scheduling. Are there any other topics that anyone would want to go over or review? So let's do a quick round and see where people are at here. So our options are really like, wrap up and check out. We could do final verification for Gino. We could do session setup, wrap up. What that would mean is going through some of these other details. For example, our scheduling, Plasmo, MBE, proposals, vibes, right? Also, we could just skip to vibes itself. So there's vibes, issues, contention. If there was any wanting to discuss that, contention. Or we could just talk about scheduling. So those would be the 5 options in terms of our view up. I would, I'm definitely down to wrap up and take a break before the next session, which is fine. I'm also down to address any vibes if people have them. I'm also open to the session wrap up and scheduling. So, Albina, what do you think we should do?
For the wrap up, take out because of the next sessions, and also set up and wrap up.
Gino, Temitope,
I'll just
Pressy.
schedule the final verification. Who can verify me for responsibility then?
Mainly just people who have gone through the training for stage 6. So, like Albina, possibly Pressy,
Okay,
myself. So me, Pressy, Albina.
I can just reschedule that for some other.
We can schedule a session to just go through everything and verify our responsibility time before we move on to stage 6.
Okay, I see.
No, we do. So the first one was the highest one.
Okay, so are there any objections to starting our wrap up and checking out? All right, so I think we are done. That's cool. So when we check out, typically we would go over our work priorities. If there's any next steps for the next meeting that we need to review. It looks like, unless, I guess we already kind of covered next steps, so I guess that would be a no. So the work that needs to get done is we have to invite all the executives for the organization. Temitope is going to help with that. We need to review all the decisions made since the last Venus session. Gino's going to help with that. And then we need to do the plasmo of organizing all the policies in the virtual drawer. And then creating a decision-making voting forms for, let's just say priority projects. Okay? So I don't think we need to do all of them, especially right away. Let's just focus on one. So for example, the one that affects all of us the most are the HR policies, right? So I would say either the budget policies, the HR policies, or both of those are the ones that affect us the most. So those seem like the policies we would want to review and evaluate sooner than later, just because, every single month we're affected by, because it affects our pay, it affects everything, right? All right, so that's the main work that came out of the session. I believe there's more work, but we didn't list anything else out. Any questions on the priorities, the work priorities? So if we were doing really, really carefully, we would do an evaluation. The evaluation's always open. Anyone can evaluate anything at any time. We do 720 evaluations. And then we do have the session value tracking. So making sure people do the value tracking, and then the scheduling. Our next session for planetary sessions is the August 3rd for the Mars session, which is our membership meeting. And then the Mars alignment will be the 2nd through the 6th. So on the 6th is the Mercury session. So the Mercury session will be part of the Mars alignment, okay? Because they're really close to each other. We don't need to do two separate alignments. And we do have the website for that. Let me go ahead and link the website.
10:45.
There's a lot of outreach that could be done for the Mars session if we wanted to, including making a list of all the different types of Mars organizations that could be invited, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of interest there. All right, so when's the next global session?
Can you say that again?
Last quarter moon?
That's I guess it's on 13.
You said that it's July 13th?
A moment, I'm double checking.
Cool. Anyways, so those are our next sessions, so let's go.
June 13 is the moon apogee.
Yeah.
And also the last quarter moon.
July 13th?
Yeah, July 13th.
13th.
All right, so the moon apogee would be the Outreach and Recruitment Commission, and last quarter moon would be our steering team. All right, so those are on July 13th. So those are our next sessions. Any questions about the schedule? All right, so let's go ahead and check out. I will start. I thought this session went pretty well. I would give it like a 7. We, got through everything. We were pretty organized. The team was pretty organized. We had all our recordings and our live broadcasts. So as long as that all worked out, we're pretty good. And it lasted kind of long, but we had a lot of things to go over because it's been a while. It was unfortunate that we, argued a little bit, but I feel like it's important to get out issues and to just address them. I feel like we did address them. We went through the policies. We understood there was mistakes. So I thought that was really good. Also, it is, I'm still having a really hard time just kind of getting in the groove of the work with all the pandemic and all the changes and, the time and the energy and dealing with things with the family. It's still pretty overwhelming. Like the pandemic is getting much worse here in the United States, including in California where I'm at, and it's just pretty overwhelming. So I, I'm hoping for the best with it all, but it's just it still affects my ability to focus and work. Obviously, I'm still working a lot. I'm still easily doing 40, 50 hours a week. But it's harder to schedule as detailed and specific as needed. Where I need the most effort and work is with the JLN support. That would be the most helpful. And then from there, secondarily, would be Canopy. But without the JLN support, and it's like Albina has been scheduling maybe like 1-2 JLN supports every week or two. Like I need like, 5 a week, or 7 a week just to like get organized, get the computers functional, get, all the priorities clear, go over executive planning and priorities. Like all that needs to happen regularly. So for me, the number one priority would be scheduling and or prioritizing the overall stage 6 overview training and trying to give kind of like a crash course on VA work so that ideally I would feel comfortable working with more than just Albina, and we could schedule more JLN support as well as executive support and Canopy, all that stuff. So if we could get that all functional and moving forward, I think it would significantly improve our ability to move forward as a team. I'm also very excited about the Mars session. I would love us to do a big outreach for that and see if we can make it bigger than the Earth session. The Earth session was amazing, but let's make the Mars session even bigger. So anyways, I'll be working on everything that I mentioned in addition to like the budget and the finances and the taxes and session support and the sponsorship and partnerships and virtual organizing team, all that goes on and on. Also, just to mention on the virtual organizing team, today is Friday. We should have scheduled that for the Venus session, and we did not, so it's technically not on the schedule. So we would want to either add that or we could just cancel it and just do next week. So I think canceling and doing next week is fine, and but we can talk on Skype if we want to schedule it. But for now, it's not scheduled in the Venus session, so we just have to decide what we want to do on that. But I would kind of lean towards canceling and just doing next week since that has not moved forward too much. So, and then maybe focusing on recruitment instead, and getting the recruitment to maybe find more people. So I think that's pretty much it for me. Check. Gino, you want to go next?
Yes. I'll give this session a 6.5. It was like from the other session, like from all the sessions I've experienced so far, this is quite different in a way that some things happen. But like I can like in my first, like I didn't really know how to react to it, but like in my opinion anyway, I think it's just the choice of words used for what do you call this, clarifying details on like work hours or something like that. But like for me anyway, it's not really a big deal, but I understand that some people will probably get probably see it as unfair, but it's fine for me. But like I don't know for other people, so I'm not like generalizing all people would be the same. So for after this session, I'll focus on like getting the responsibility 10 verified by either Albina or Pressy. Then I will also call this. I will also have another like a BT session with Albina for the responsibility organizing for the what do you call it, the decision doc, because she said that it could be there possibly because it's already, I think there's so much notes already. We'll just see if we need a new responsibility organizing doc or not. So that's all for me. Check.
Okay, so I'll give the session a 6.9. It was a bit slow initially, but as it went on, and with the other issues we had, I really understood some new things that like I usually do. I usually learn so many things from every session we have, and coming to the issues that were raised and the solutions that were brought up and the policies that were cited for resolution of such issues. I also would going forward, I would appreciate if we just try to get along and work as a team, no matter the backgrounds and the situations or the circumstances that we have. We are here for a purpose, and I believe we should work together. And going forward, I would work at the invites. I would like to get an email, get the emails and get to know who the sponsors, the partners, organizations are. I'll work at that, and I'm also encouraged by Dino's work ethics and the way he got verified today, and so I would also want to emulate that and see how I could quickly get over the stages and also get verified. Also check.
I'll go next.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it,
I'll
Moon.
give this. Yeah, I'll give the session 6.5. and it was a great session to know the decision and policies. Also the recruitment round of next recruitment round, because we need to get organized as soon as possible we can, and we need to check on the responsibility organizing on recruitment. Also will check and update it on Skype, so the team will understand. So my priority focus will be recruitment and also stage 6 onboarding, and I will have about stage 6, and I will bring it up in next BT session I will propose. And also I'm pretty happy that someone brings some fault about me, so I have broken that, and I'm pretty grateful to all my team, including that person who accused me, and so thank you everybody. Check.
Albina?
Okay, I'll go next. I give the session 7. It was really good session. Really went through all the policies and the executive positions. Yeah, my next focus will be on the J Life network support. Also for Pinda, we need to have a session with Pinda also. And on the plasma, is it? No, the policies vital draw updating. And we'll also do a follow-up for the Google email group for the mass session, so that we are not posting on the wrong Google email like I did yesterday. I didn't even confirm. I just sent them random message on the ad. But you need to confirm for the mass session so that we have Google email group existing. Thank you. Yeah, we'll also continue working on success, onboarding, budget, and recruitment. Thank you.
Okay, I go next. I will give the session 6. It's good, and I'm happy that we have the very session. It's been not quite long that we haven't done the very session, and I'm happy that we have a clear clarification with the recruitment. And I will be working with access, canopy, budget, recruitment as well, and trying to get through with stage on the stage.
All right. I think we are done. Any last anything that anyone wants to bring up before?
One last clarification again for like the virtual worlds session. We will have our main session at 2 a.m. Sonic time UTC for Saturday, which is Friday on yours, right?
Well, I'm proposing that we would just cancel it because we forgot to add that to the Venus sessions. But let's just check in on Skype.
Was I supposed to add it there?
We should have added it because the Venus sessions happen on the Friday, so it would have been overlapping. We'd want to get it on the schedule, but
can I still add it there?
If we want to do it, but let's check in on Skype and we can figure it out. At this time, I would personally prefer to maybe work on recruitment or something else.
Okay, I see.
Just because, I'm not sure exactly what we would want to. I mean, not much has changed from last week, so
So we won't have a main session for later.
At this time, I think let's just check in on Skype if we want to do it, and we should just say that for now
I
it
see.
probably wouldn't happen unless we decide to do it on Skype.
Okay.
Sound
I
good?
see.
Cool. All right, so then we just have the session value tracking. Who
It's
is going to
11
help with
o'clock.
that?
Is anyone can do that? I just
Or 3 hours, right? Wait, hold on. 3 hours? 3 hours.
Yes, exactly 3 hours. Perfect.
Like, I have a question. So what if like you work like for 1.5 hours, then like it turned like midnight in your area? Would that other hour be 2 times?
Exactly, that is correct. So, for let's say you did 3 hours, and the first 2 hours were 11 and 10 to 12. That would be 2 hours at 1.5x, and then your third hour would be at 2x. So typically,
Okay.
what we do is, I mean, technically speaking, you can calculate the exact x. It's a pretty simple calculation, or you could just say, okay, it's about 1.65 or 1.7x. That make sense?
Okay, I see.
okay. Jay, in that case, I started at 8 p.m. and ending at 11 p.m. What would be my X?
8 p.m. to 11 is 1.5x. That'd be overtime.
1.5.
Well, no, actually, it'd be 1.3 because 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. are normal hours, right? So then it's only 2 hours of 1.5x. So it's actually more like 1.3x. Does that make sense?
Am I correct?
Yeah,
For
makes
ENT,
sense.
no, it's 1.75.
That's fine. I mean, it's not exact, but it's like whatever. We don't need to be exact.
Yeah, for me, antimetrope is just 1. It's
Yeah.
mine is 8 p.m. now.
Yeah.
So we are still 1 X. Yeah.
And mine is also wait, let me see. It's currently 10 o'clock. So mine's actually a little below too. Mine's like 1.3 as well. Coolio. All right.
One last question is that like the Venus sessions right here are they are not work hours, right? These are not work hours.
Can anyone answer that?
What is the question?
Like in here in the Venus session, open Venus sessions, these are not what do you call this? These are not work hours or like tracked hours or what? Yeah.
Is that included on the, what do you mean is it's not
It is not included as work hours. It's
on
not included as
scheduled hours?
so it is not.
Can anyone answer that question?
I didn't understand the question.
The question is it included? Do I track the hours in this list of sessions in the Venus sessions? I mean, if ever I will attend.
For the open session.
Yeah, for the open sessions.
Yes.
Am I correct? We're not looking for the open session for Venus.
So I think the answer I heard was yes. And just to clarify the policy, any and all time spent on anything related to FQN Community Network is trackable paid hours in relationship to your stipend. So it doesn't matter what you're working on. If it's related to FQN Community Network, it counts. And you're actually required to track your hours. So if you don't track your hours, then you fill out policy tracking. Okay? So that included any and all time on World Unity Week. So anything that you did during your World Unity Week would all be related to FQN Community Network. So there are rare times when something does step out of the bounds of FQN Community Network work, but it's still related, but that is rare. So unless you basically been told that it doesn't count as hours, and typically it would be documented in writing that it doesn't count, then you would count any and all hours related to anything with FCAN Community Network. And again, this is the executive team session of the Venus session, right? It rolled over into what was scheduled as open sessions, but we never actually did the open session. So the open session basically got canceled, all right?
Yeah.
Which isn't surprising because we didn't do any outreach for it.
That's true.
Yeah, and the next session coming up would be in about 2 hours, and that is the water planning group, right? So as far as other groups, I would say that overall we want, like, there was a couple sessions during World Unity Week where there was a lot of people there, like 4 or 5 people, and not everyone was actually working. So basically what we need to be doing is scheduling work support for something like, you know, the water planning group. So I would say if everyone wants to come, they could, but ideally we would just make sure that we had like 3 or 4 people, and specific people who would be taking on roles, for example, timekeeping and note taking and double checking on the website so that the live stream is working correctly. So, you know, just to make sure that all of the work getting done is happening. We don't need like 10 people to show up for a session that we ourselves are not actually running, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So anyways, is there anyone who's planning on attending the water group session? It starts in 2 hours from now, I think.
Like, is that with Elizabeth and the others as well again?
Yes.
Elizabeth and Dani and Leia.
It's 3 a.m. I think I won't be able to make it.
All right. Well, if I'm the only one who's there, it's fine. And also for those who are interested in water, there's going to be a water open session in the middle of the night as well as during the day for us here in the Americas. So everyone should be able to attend, and that will be on July 26th, and it's on the water portal, the Water Unity portal. So we'll talk about that more when we get closer there. So that would be another session that you could potentially attend. Today we should be talking about the organization itself, and we should be discussing whether the organization is global and how we're going to be doing scheduling. But I think so far people have been interested and willing to schedule in relationship to the planetary session, so we'll see how that evolves. But I think that's it on my side. Any other last questions about anything, session value tracking, anything else?
I'm good.
All right, I think we are done. Good work, everybody. All right, bye.
Take care.